If you've been looking forward to Bandai Namco's upcoming action RPG Scarlet Nexus but might still be on the fence or aren't totally sure about it, then you're in the right place. In today's video, I'll be sharing with you 8 key things you need to know before buying Scarlet Nexus that will help you decide if it's for you or not. Let me know in the comments what feature of Scarlet Nexus you're most excited about, and if you enjoy JRPG content like this, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything. So for point 1, let's start with the story. Scarlet Nexus takes place in the far future, and a new hormone has been discovered in the human brain that grants people extrasensory abilities, essentially superpowers. Because of this, humanity has entered a new age. However, strange new monsters called the Others fell from the sky with an appetite for human brains. The Others were highly resistant to conventional attacks. However, psionics, humans with particularly strong powers, could fight them back. And because of this, an organization was formed to combat them called the Others Suppression Force, or the OSF. The game follows 2 OSF recruits, which I'll touch on a little later in the next section. Now, I gotta say, I feel like the story is super intriguing because it sets up a good mystery. Why did the Others show up? What are they really? Where are they from? Will we even find this out in the story? Well, we're not gonna find out until the game is out, but I hope this becomes a really great mystery that slowly unravels over the course of the game. Next up, let's talk about the characters in Scarlet Nexus, and what's cool about this game is that it's a dual protagonist story. The 2 main characters are Yuito Sumeragi and Kasane Randall. Now, these are 2 separate stories with unique campaigns, unique plot points, locations, and there will be some crossover throughout the game where they run into each other. Now, Yuito was saved by an OSF member as a child, and this inspired him to join. And that person that saved him, well, it was Kasane. Now, she's particularly gifted with a super strong set of abilities. She was the top of her class in the academy, and she's kind of the golden child of the OSF, whereas Yuito is the newbie just starting off fresh. Now, you will have other party members that join you in combat, but you won't be able to control them directly. But what's cool is you get to learn about them through bonding events, which are similar to social links like you would find in the Persona series. And again, this is something I'll touch on a little later in its own section. For now, let's talk about the combat system. Scarlet Nexus is an action game through and through, and it feels like something from like a character action game like Devil May Cry or Bayonetta, just not quite as fast. You have light and heavy attacks as well as psychokinetic abilities where you can pick up objects and hurl them at enemies. And what's cool about all this is that the controls are super intuitive, and what's really neat is your psychokinetic abilities are tied to the shoulder button, so you can be wailing away at enemies, dodging, while also throwing with your psychokinetic abilities at the same time, and it really feels great. Now, enemies also sort of have like a guard bar or like a shield bar, and if you're able to break through them, you're able to do these stylish finishing moves that feel super great and have these really crunchy, awesome sound effects.
I'll do it!
But I feel like what really throws the combat over the top in a great way are your special abilities. Now, you're able to borrow powers from your other teammates. So for example, Kasane has the ability to imbue her attacks with electricity, and this can stun enemies. And she also has the ability to speed up her movement and attacks to either hit super fast moving enemies or to just, attack super fast for regular enemies. On the flip side, Yuito has fire that he can use to burn enemies that are covered in oil, and he also has a teleportation ability that can get him to different areas. And what I really liked about this is that these abilities were utilized in really unique ways, not only with fighting enemies to set up really cool encounters, but also as you explore the world. Now, you can have up to 4 of these abilities equipped at any given time, and from what I understand from other preview videos I watched, you can level up these abilities to make them even stronger later, and at some point you can even have the ability to use 2 of these abilities at the same time. I have to say, this is a really unique system that I feel like I haven't really experienced in any other game before. I'm really excited to test out these abilities and see how you can juggle enemies and how they interact with the environment and how levels are designed with these abilities in mind. So next, let's talk about the bonding events. This is much like Persona's social link system. In between missions, you'll be able to interact with different characters, and as you interact with them, you'll get to know them. And as your bond level increases with these characters, you'll be able to unlock more powerful abilities. I have to say, I love when they do this in games because not only does it give you a deeper connection to these characters, but honestly, it just makes this system really addictive. And honestly, this just gets me excited to learn about all my different teammates because in the demo I played, they seemed pretty interesting, but we didn't get a whole lot of time to dive deep, so hopefully with these bond events, we get a chance to dive deep and learn more about them. Next, let's talk about crafting, and I have to be honest, before researching for this video, I didn't even know Scarlet Nexus had a crafting system. Not only can you craft items and gear, but the gear will reflect aesthetically on your characters, meaning they're kind of like costumes, so whatever you craft and you equip, it'll actually show up. And I have to say, I love playing the fashion metagame in RPGs, so I know I'll definitely be dumping tons of hours into this system. As of now, there's not a lot of footage and there's not a lot of other details known other than this exists, so I'm really excited to dive into this once the full game comes out. All right, let's talk about length. How much playtime can we expect from Scarlet Nexus? In an interview with Game Reactor, producer Keita Izuki said, quote, "The overall story, including all the subquests that we're planning, it should be a game of about 40 to 50 hours of playtime." Now, I have to say, this seems like the perfect amount of hours. Don't get me wrong, I love my 100-hour epics like Persona 5, but sometimes a media experience that's still doable really appeals to me right now at this point in my life. And let's be honest, these developers are probably overestimating that playtime like they often do when asked this kind of question, so we're probably looking at closer to something like 35 hours, but you know, if you're wanting to get the platinum trophy and all that, maybe 50 or maybe 60 if you're a little bit slower at playing or whatever. But again, like with most things, we'll have to wait and see until the full game comes out. Next, let's talk about performance. Scarlet Nexus releases on PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and PC. Now on PS4 and Xbox One, it'll run at 1080p 30 frames per second. To be honest, I'm a little disappointed, but not totally surprised. I was kind of hoping it would run at 60 frames on the last gen systems, but after playing the demo, it's clear that it doesn't. For PS5 and Xbox Series X, it'll run at 4K 60 frames per second. I've seen some footage and I'll probably have it playing right now. It looks silky smooth, it looks super good. And on Xbox Series S, it'll run at 1440p and 60 frames per second, so not quite full 4K, but it'll still look extra crispy. Now, of course, on PC, they're targeting 4K 60 frames per second, but that'll totally depend on your system. And I will say this game begs to be run at 60 frames per second. Like I said, I played it on PS4. It ran great. It was fun to play, but I feel like this style of combat really demands it to be run at 60 frames per second. It'll just be so much more smooth. So thankfully, the current gen systems do support that. So if you have the option, definitely play it either on a PS5, Xbox Series X, Xbox Series S, or on PC. The last and final point is there is a demo. So if after everything I said, you're not totally convinced and you're still a little bit on the fence, well, you can just try it out for yourself. So there's a demo available for PlayStation and Xbox. However, I did a little digging and I couldn't see it on PC, so just on consoles for now. And this demo will let you play through one mission with each character, and each mission takes about 30 minutes each. So the demo in total is about an hour long. And what's cool is each character's demo is pretty different from the other. Each has different abilities, like Yuito fights with a sword, he's more about close-up combat, whereas Kasane has these sort of like kinetic daggers that she throws around, and she's more about like hanging out in the air and air juggling. And like I said, each character has a unique set of 4 abilities that they get to work with, and each level is designed with those in mind. It's a great slice of the game. I definitely recommend checking out the demo. Now, if you're excited for Scarlet Nexus and want to hear about another exciting RPG from Bandai Namco, you definitely want to check out my video right here where I tell you everything you need to know about Tales of Arise. And if you haven't already and you love JRPGs, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.